I always believed in the strength of our love, even as subtle cracks began to form. My husband Alex was 6 years my senior, and his devotion to his parents often took precedence over our relationship. While I admired his family values initially, it soon became a source of quiet resentment. One evening, as we sat on the couch after dinner, I broached the topic. "Alex, do you think we could spend our anniversary together this year?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. He glanced up from his phone, distracted. "Of course, Olivia, but you know how my parents are, sometimes plans change." I nodded, but a familiar weight settled in my chest. "It's just that last year, you left me alone for dinner with them." His eyes softened slightly. "I know, and I'm sorry about that. They needed me." "I need you too," I replied softly, searching his face for any sign of understanding. "I love you, Liv, but family is important," he said, brushing off the tension. "We can celebrate another day, right?" "Sure," I murmured, forcing a smile, but inside I wondered if I would always be second place. Days turned into weeks, and I continued to push down my feelings. Every time he prioritized his parents, it felt like a small piece of our marriage chipped away, leaving behind a lingering sense of inadequacy. I confided in my best friend Sarah, hoping for some clarity. "Maybe he just doesn't see it the way you do," Sarah suggested over coffee. "Have you tried telling him how it makes you feel?" "I have. But it's like he's not listening. His parents always come first," I replied, stirring my drink absent-mindedly. "It's exhausting. Don't let it eat away at you. You deserve to be heard," she encouraged, her voice firm. As I sat there, I realized how much I had been brushing aside for the sake of peace. The cracks in our foundation were widening, and I couldn't ignore them any longer. It was time to confront the reality of our situation, even if it meant risking everything. The chills started that Friday night, creeping up my spine like an unwelcome guest. By Saturday morning, I was shivering under layers of blankets, my head pounding with fever. I hoped Alex would notice my condition and stay, but instead, he was bustling around the bedroom, packing for his spa weekend. "Do you really have to go today?" I asked, my voice hoarse and strained. He glanced over, briefly concerned. "It's just a couple of days, Olivia. I promised my parents. We've had this planned for weeks." "But I'm really not feeling well," I said, trying to convey my need for him. He hesitated, then shrugged. "The spa is booked, Liv. It would be a waste to cancel now. You'll be fine." As he left, I felt a wave of despair wash over me. The silence of the empty house amplified my loneliness, each creak and groan of the walls a reminder of his absence. I lay in bed, drifting in and out of fitful sleep, the fever dreams blurring the line between reality and imagination. By afternoon, my symptoms worsened. I reached for my phone and dialed his mother, hoping for some comfort. "Hi, Olivia, how are you?" She answered, her voice cheerful. "Not great," I croaked. "Is Alex with you? He said he'd be taking you to the spa." There was a pause. "No, dear, he's not here. We haven't seen him." A chill ran through me, not from the fever, but from the realization that Alex had lied. "Oh, I must have misunderstood," I replied, masking my surprise. As I hung up, the room spun, and I clutched the sheets, feeling more alone than ever. My mind raced, questions swirling with no answers in sight. Why would he lie? Where was he really? Later that night, the fever raged on. I lay there, drenched in sweat, pondering the cracks that had grown into chasms. The foundations of trust and love felt shaky, and I knew I could no longer ignore them. As my fever subsided, clarity set in, and with it, a determination to uncover the truth. I called Alex's mother again, my voice steadier this time. "Hi, Olivia. How are you feeling?" she asked, genuine concern in her tone. "I'm better, thank you." I wanted to ask again, "Are you sure Alex wasn't with you this weekend?" I probed gently. "No, he wasn't," she replied, confusion lacing her words. "Why?" My heart sank. "He said he was taking you to the spa." Silence hung in the air. "I'm sorry, dear. I don't know why he would say that." The truth began to unravel, each thread revealing a deeper betrayal. That evening, I decided to confront Alex directly. "Alex, we need to talk," I said as he walked through the door. He looked up, feigning innocence. "About what?" "About where you really were this weekend," I replied, my voice firm. "I told you I was with my parents," he said, avoiding my gaze. "No, you weren't." I called your mother, I said, crossing my arms. Why did you lie to me? His expression shifted, a flicker of guilt crossing his face. I didn't think it mattered. I just needed some time alone. Alone? I echoed, hurt and disbelief mingling. Or with someone else? He paused, the silence answering my question. Olivia, it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think, I shot back, my resolve hardening. With that, I turned and walked away, the sound of his silent acceptance echoing behind me. It was painful but necessary, and I felt a sense of liberation as I closed the door on that chapter of my life. In the aftermath of our divorce, I found myself navigating a landscape of emotions, relief, sadness, and a flicker of hope for the future. With the support of my family and friends, I began to rebuild my life, piece by piece. Sarah, my steadfast friend, sat with me one afternoon over coffee, her presence a comforting anchor in the storm. How are you holding up? She asked, concern etched in her brow. I took a sip of coffee, savoring the warmth it brought. Better, I think. It's still surreal, but I know it was the right decision. She nodded, her gaze steady. You're strong, Liv. Stronger than you realize. Her words echoed in my mind as I settled into a new routine. Days turned into weeks, and I focused on rediscovering who I was outside of my marriage. I threw myself into work, finding solace in the familiarity of deadlines and projects. With each passing day, I reclaimed my independence, finding joy in simple pleasures and the company of loved ones. One Saturday morning, I woke to a knock on the door. Surprised, I opened it to find Sarah standing there, a mischievous grin on her face. Surprise, she exclaimed, holding up a bag of pastries. I thought we could have a girls' day out. I laughed, the sound light and carefree. That sounds perfect. We spent the day exploring quaint shops and indulging in guilty pleasures, our laughter ringing through the streets. It was a reminder of the resilience of friendship, and I felt a glimmer of excitement for the future. I enrolled in a cooking class, traveled to places I'd always dreamed of, and even began writing again, a childhood passion that had long been neglected. One evening, as I sat at my desk, a message popped up on my phone. It was from Alex, a mix of regret and longing in his words. He spoke of his mistakes and his desire for reconciliation. I read his message with a calm detachment, realizing that while our paths had once been intertwined, they had diverged irreversibly. With a deep breath, I composed a reply. Alex, I appreciate your words, but I've found my peace. It's time for both of us to move forward. As I hit send, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The chapter of my life with Alex had closed definitively, and I was ready to embrace the new beginnings that lay ahead, bright with possibility and filled with the promise of a future I alone would shape.